Hey there, I'm your host Zoe, and this is part 3 of our equipment system series. In today's video, we'll be creating our equipment slots. So with that said, let's begin. We'll start by going into the content drawer, and in here we want to create a new widget for our equipment slot. So let's go ahead and do that. User widget wb_equipment slot. And let's open it up. Now in here, we want to grab ourselves a size box. And for the actual size, overwrite the width and the height. Now I'll do 60 by 60 since this is what I had in the introduction, but you do you. Feel free to change that. So we'll go to desired, and this is what we want. Now with that, we want to grab a button and add it into the size box. And if you click on style, first of all, we can see normal padding and pressed padding. We want to change this to be 0 and 0. And for the background color, we'll do 0. So that's the opacity. We don't see anything. Next, we want to grab a border and add it into the button. And we should also name our button. So let's do button_equipment slot, because we'll be using it later. With the border, we want to fill horizontally and fill vertically, padding at 0. And for the brush color, once again, I have my color saved here on the left, so I'll copy it and paste it in. So if you want it, it's right there. 5F828AFF, and press OK. Into this border, we then want to grab an overlay, drag it in like so. Make sure the padding is set to 0, like that. And at the very end, we want to have 2 images. One image for the completely empty slots. So we'll fill horizontally. And let's do padding of 4. And we'll name it img_empty slot. And let's duplicate it. And this one we can call equipment slot. Okay, and anything else I should change? I believe I shouldn't change anything else except, well, let's make both of these guys, actually we don't have to. I was gonna say we have to make them collapse, but in reality, we don't really have to. Okay. Let's compile and save that then. And let's head over to our event graph. In here, we wanna get rid of the event tick and the pre-construct, and we'll focus on the event construct. Next, we want to add a new variable called item ID, and this will be of type name, and we want to make it instance editable and exposed on spawn. This will allow us to change it dynamically. We then want to grab our item ID and do get row, like so. And for the data table, we want to grab our dt_equipment data. Now outro will do a break, and we get all the information associated with this item. Now we're only interested in the image, so let's hide unconnected pins and do image. And we'll do a branch. Now we want to compare this image, so do n == to the non-image. If this is true, well then our equipment slot, our empty equipment slot will be set to visible, and our equipment slot will be set to hidden or collapsed. So on row not found, what we'll do is we'll grab our empty slot and do set brush from texture, like so, and plug that into there. Now the texture here will promote to a variable, calling it our empty slot, and let's make it instance editable. Okay, we then want to grab this again and do set visibility to be visible. So that's correct. And we then want to grab our equipment slot, copy the visibility node, and do collapsed. That goes in there, and that goes in here. Okay. And for the true, what we'll do is we'll create a custom event called set empty slot, like that, plugging this into here. And then on true, we can call this event, and it's going to run all of this logic for us. Now let's say on false, and that is not equal to none, we then want to do the reverse of this. So get rid of that, plug this in here. And these guys, what we'll do is the empty slot wants to be collapsed and the equipment slot then wants to be visible. And for set brush from texture, this goes into here. And of course, our target is going to be our equipment slot like that. Okay, and this is us set with the equipment slot for now. So let's compile and save it. And just before we leave, we should actually add another variable called the equipment category. And of course, the type is going to be our enumeration. So e_equipment category. And let's make it instance editable and expose on spawn so we can edit it in a different place. Compile and save. Next, let's head over to our wardrobe widget. So let's open this up. And in the designer, let's select our middle column. And what we want to do in here is add a vertical box. Now this might get a little complicated, so I'll do my best to keep you guys along, and we'll do fill in here. And we want to add this to the overlay, like so. And in here, we then want to have 4 other boxes, which are going to be our horizontal boxes. So let's search for that and drag it in here, and we can copy paste 4 of those. Select all of them and do fill. And this is the result we get. And we want to divide this accordingly to what we want to put in them. So our first box is going to be the name. So for fill, we'll distribute it as 0.25, so a quarter. Then for our second box, we'll do 1.1. And in here, we'll have majority of our slots. Our next box we'll do at 0.25. And our last box we'll do at 0.2. And this is what we want. So for our first box, let's name all of them. We'll do, box_row 1. And I'll just copy that and paste it for all of them. Row 2. Just to stay organized, as this will get messy as we continue going forward. Okay, so in here, for our first box, we'll just grab a text, plug it into here, and this will be our player's name. So in the center, we can do fill and do txt_player name and make it variable. Now, of course, you can size that up as well. Let's do font like 20, should be okay. Then for our middle box, we want to once again expand on this. So we'll grab 2 vertical boxes, plug it in there, grab another one, and we want to fill this out as well. And our left box we can call box_, let's say equipment left. And this will be box_equipment right. Okay. So if you're still following along, in here, what we want to do is we want to grab the equipment slot we just made. So let's search for that and drag it into here. And we're going to copy it maybe a few times. So we'll do 3 of those and we'll align them to the left. And let's give them a padding of, let's say 20 or even 15, whatever you like. Something like that. Maybe even 10 will do nicely. Play around with this and see what you like. So with that, we want to copy those, paste it into our other slot, and this time align to the right. And this is what we're getting. We then could also name these slots. So let's do slot_hair. We'll do slot_facial hair. Do slot_accessory, and so on. So this will be our torso. This will be our slot_hands. And our slot_legs. Very nice. So that's that. Now the next box gets a little bit more complicated. So in here, we'll add 3 vertical boxes. Like so. We can actually close these down just to make this a bit easier for ourselves. Box 1. So we're on box 3 right now. So 1 vertical box, 2nd and 3rd. Okay. Now select all of these and do fill. And then we should also name them. So box underscore melee damage or melee weapon. We'll do box underscore AC for armor class. It's fine. And then we'll do box underscore ranged weapon. Then we want to grab our slots again. Put one here, put one there. Align it to the right. And let's name them. So slot underscore melee weapon. And we'll do slot underscore ranged weapon. Like so. Okay. And then what we want to do for our AC box is we'll grab an overlay. Drag it in. Make sure it's filled. And in this overlay, we'll have an image, which will be our shield. So let's call it img underscore shield icon. Now we don't need to have it variable, so we can take that off. Give it the shield icon. AC icon, what did I call it? Let's find it in here somewhere. Equipment system, equipment images, and it's not here. Might have removed it by accident. So I'll import it quickly. Okay, so the icon is imported now. And if we go back and click on here, we can do shield and it should show up. And it does. Very nice. What we want to do then is add a vertical box into here onto the overlay. And this vertical box, we can name, let's say vertical box underscore AC, armor class. Make sure to fill it. And then we want to add 2 texts. We'll do text and drag that into the vertical box and copy once again. Now for the size, we'll select both of these and do 14. We can fill them, I think, or let's do auto. For the top one, we'll do middle and we'll call this txt underscore AC. And let's give it a padding at the top, let's say 10, 20, 30 even, that's fine. For the next text, we'll do middle again. Let's give it a padding of the top, on the top like 5. And we'll do text. This will be a dummy text for our AC, so 15. And for the actual text name, we'll do txt underscore AC value. And let's make it variable. The first one doesn't really have to be, and let's call it AC. Something like this. And if you want to go a bit more fancy, what we can do is we can select both of these and do font or type base to regular. Something like that. Let's make this actually bold. There we are. Something like that. So our last box, row 4. Let's hide row 3, row 2. This box, what we'll do in here is we'll grab again 3 vertical boxes, put it into here, like so, and we'll do fill. And we then want to grab 2 texts into each vertical box. So we'll do text like so, and we can copy it. Now, of course, all of these, once again, will have a font of 14. Let's make them in the middle. And let's make them regular. And let's do a padding, let's say on the top, 30, no, way too much. Maybe leave it blank, let's say. The top one will do 20. Maybe even 10. Play around and find out, essentially. So we'll copy those, paste them into each slot. And then we can change them. These guys, I want to be bold again. And this will be our bonus damage. And this will be our attack damage. Then in here, we'll just put a dummy text, something like +7. And then we'll have like, I don't know, 12. Same here, +5, or doesn't really matter. Then for this, we'll do 12 again. Cool. So that's our damage there. And we want to make sure these guys are variable. The ones in the middle, oops, don't have to be. So we can leave them as they are. But this one needs to be called txt_ranged. Yeah, let's just ranged bonus. And this will be our txt_ranged damage. And same here, txt_melee damage or melee bonus. And this one will be called txt_melee attack. Right? Oh no, melee damage. Okay, so I think that's us pretty much done. If I forgot anything, we'll come back. But yeah, a bit of a mouthful to create this. So let's compile and save it. Next, what we want to do is we want to click on each individual slot and fill out some information. So for example, item ID would be the row name of the hair. So we'll do hair_00, and that's our first hair, our default. For the empty slot, we'll do empty, and we get our empty slot. So that's one. Then the equipment category is, of course, our hair. Next, we'll do the facial hair. So facial hair_00. Empty slot will be our empty slot here. And the category will be facial hair. So you just want to do this for every single one. So I'll speedrun this really quick. Okay, so that's filled out now. All of these are done. So let's compile and save it. And if we go and test this, they should actually appear on your screen as empty. So let's open this up and boom, here we are. So this is something that we get. Very nice. What we will do next is we will set up an active slot. So what this means is that if we go to play and press I to open our equipment system, if we were to click on a slot, we want to know we've clicked on it. So we'll go ahead and do that. So let's open up our equipment slot. And in here, we want to add an event dispatcher, which will let us know which category we've selected. So in here, we'll do, not a new variable, we'll do a new dispatcher called onSlotSelected. And in here, we'll add a parameter for our category. So e_equipment category, and let's call it our equipment category. Very nice. Okay, so let's grab our button onClicked and do onSlotSelected, call that. And we want to input our category, and this is what will be returned back to us. Okay, let's compile and save that. And before we leave, let's design how this will look like when we've clicked on it. So in the designer, on the overlay, we'll grab a border. Whoops, border, there we are, and drag it into the overlay. And do fill. We see nothing now, that's fine. What we'll do is, in the content drawer, in the MUI, we'll create a new material called m_active slot. Open this up. Let's make it user interface and translucent like the ones before. In here, we want to do a generated round rect, and we want to invert the values. So we'll do -1, plug that into the final color and the opacity. And this is what we get, but it's still not what we want. So we'll grab a vector 2. So press 2 on your keyboard and left mouse, and this is what you get. Plug this into your box dimensions. and play around with this. Now I found a value of 0.9 to work for me. So that's what I'll go ahead and do. Now, oops, something's not right. Ah, yes. We then want to grab a vector1. So press 1 and left mouse, and we get this. Now in here, I'll do a 0.5 and plug this into my sharpness, and boom, we get something like that. We'll apply and save, and we can then apply this to our equipment slot border. So in here on the brush, we'll do active slot, and this is how it's going to look like. Now, of course, you can change the color to something like yellow, orange, something to let you know it's selected. So let's do a highlighted yellowish color. And let's compile and save that. Let's then head back into our graph and create an event for this. So we'll do custom event called set active slot. And that's a capital L, which I don't like. So let's do that, active slot. There we go. Okay, now in here, what we want to do then is let's get our border, which we should make variable. And also let's name it. So border active slot variable. Let's grab that and do set visibility. So by default, actually, let's head back once again. We want to make this collapsed. So it's invisible at all times, unless we tell it to be visible. And we'll do a select. And the condition is going to go in here, which will be a Boolean. So let's add an input. And we'll call it is active. Boolean. Plug it into here, like that. Very nice. Right, so if it is true, we'll have it as visible. And if it's false, we'll have it as collapsed. And let's just comment this code, sets active slot. And let's make it bubble. Okay, so that's that. Then let's go ahead and open up our wardrobe. Go into the event graph, and in here on event construct, we want to bind to every single slot we have. So all of these guys. So once again, I'll go ahead and get them in order to get the proper index. So we'll start with hair. We'll then get our facial hair, our accessory, and so on. If we have made a mess, so right click on that, go to alignment, align left. We then want to make an array from all of these. So add all of your input pins. We have 8. Very nice. And out of here, we want to promote it to a variable to store all of these, and we'll call them equipment slots, like that. Okay. So that's that. We then want to do a for each loop. So we'll go over every single slot and we'll bind on slot selected. So we'll know we have clicked on it and it's going to return our category for us. So let's do a custom event. Let's call it on slot selected, like that. We then want to go ahead and create a function for this active slot. So let's go to functions and do get active slot, like that. And in here, what we want is we want the equipment category. So we'll do equipment category and we'll add in our e_equipment category like we had. Then what we want to do is from this equipment category, we want to convert this to a byte, to integer byte. And this will give us the index of that category. So in order. So if this, this would be index 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. So we'll know which item we've clicked on. So let's get our equipment slots and do a get a copy. And this gives us exactly that. And we'll promote this to a active slot. Right. We then want to get this active slot at the very beginning and convert it to a validated get. And if it is valid, if it's still valid, we then want to promote it to a local variable. You'll see in a second just why. Local_active slot. And we then will do set active slot, which is that function we made, to be false. And then, and only then, we set this to our new active slot. So that's why we need the local active slot. And we'll check if this is equal to our local active slot. And if it is, do a branch. We then will, if it's true, we'll set the active slot to be empty, to be nothing. And on false, what we'll do is we'll get our active slot, which we have here. And we'll do set active slot to be active, like so. Connect that into there. And I believe this is pretty good right now. So let's compile and save this. And let's plug this into the active slot, connecting our equipment categories. And let's see if this works. So let's compile and save. And if we were to play, we should be able to click on a slot and nothing happens. So what did I do wrong? Let's see. Okay, so I found my mistake. This, of course, is not going to be valid because it hasn't been set yet. So if it's not valid, we'll drag to the active slot and we'll reroute these pins to see more clearly what is happening. Let's compile and save that. And if we go to play again, we now should see that they get selected. So if we're on a slot, click on a new one, the old one gets deselected and the new one gets activated. And if we click on the active slot, it just gets deselected. So this is the exact result that we want. In the next episode, we'll be working on the inventory. For now, this is it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. And as always, happy developing.